are very slim precisely because these recommendations require for Georgia to be a better institutional democracy with better checks and balances, independent institutions, respect for human rights, non-discrimination, etc., all the principles that are there enshrined in the Copenhagen criteria. This government has been gradually dismantling these principles and basically kind of a hybrid regime. So it's like asking them to dismantle themselves, which obviously they will not do.
Suzanne, let me bring you in as well.
Yeah, I mean, it does remind me the scenes of protests that we've seen on our TV screens over the last month have a lot of parallels with what was happening in Ukraine about, 10 years ago, late 2013, early 2024, that very public display of willingness to join the EU. I suppose one question would be whether these protests remain peaceful and whether any violence erupts. I mean, I think we could see a completely different response from Europe, from the West, if this was to really deteriorate today. For example, we're obviously coming to a crunch point, and so far authorities have held back from that. So that's one element. And then, of course, how committed is the European Union to stand by these protesters who are there voicing their support for EU membership? It was disappointing that in the last few weeks the EU failed to agree sanctions against some of these figures in Georgia. What's happening a lot in Europe now is that they're being blocked, moves like this on foreign policy on enlargement, by a couple of countries, including Hungary. So that is a concern, and I think that should be a concern for Georgia. How committed is the EU to this? I don't know if it is. It has a lot